Hi, my name is Jan Rodriguez. I am an entomologist, so I'm a scientist who studies insects. I'm doing my PhD at Purdue University, and for my hobby, what I like to do is I do live animal shows where I bring different animals to different venues and different classrooms throughout the US. So it's one of my favorite things in the world to do, and it's just taught me so much in terms of understanding animals, but also understanding people and understanding fear and what fear means and how it changes us and how it forms us. So it's been a really interesting journey inside, getting to know people and understanding them. And I think one of the best parts about living here in New York is that there's just so many people, and they have all these different beliefs and these different value systems, and just learning about them and learning about the other has just been something that's always really captivated me, whether it be other in terms of animals or other in terms of peoples of different religions or different education. It's always just been something amazing. And I think that learning about things like creepy crawlies and about insects kind of gears us to accepting people that are different from us, because all of it, the entire blanket is under xenophobia, where we're afraid of things that we don't understand, we're afraid of things we've never experienced before. And it's a double-edged sword because it allows us to be capable of great violence, where we attack things that aren't what we are or things that look different from us. But in the same way, xenophobia is a bit innocent, where we're sort of new to the experience. And with insects, I feel like it's really pure and it's really beautiful because people have a genuine reaction to them. We're not taught much about insects in childhood, so when you're confronted with it, your reaction is very elementary. It's very instinctual. It's very childlike because it's something that you haven't really seen before. So whether it be excitement or fear or confusion, I'm captivated by people's reactions to the insects and the other animals I have, because it's from the heart, and it's something that's really pure. I feel like I'm sort of reaching out to the child that they once were, and it's an experience that I wouldn't live without, and it's one that I definitely don't take for granted. I got into insects before I can remember. I must have been about 3 or 4 years old. It started with collecting different insects in my backyard. I had a lot of different ants and a lot of different beetles, and I would just spend hours digging in the dirt for grubs and worms and pretty much anything I can get my hands on. It kind of evolved when I could read, and I would just look at different books on animals, and I'd make trips to the library pretty frequently, almost every day. And yeah, the more I learned, the more I wanted to learn, and it just kind of grew and grew. And eventually, I would just go on to read more advanced books, and I'd collect a lot more insects. And then once I got a job, I could start buying them on a large scale and teaching myself even more about them. And it's been a really interesting journey because I feel like I'm so different now compared to when I first started it, and it's been amazing to actually learn about them in an academic context, where I'd go to school and study biology, and then I went to school for my master's, and now I'm doing my PhD, and it's just been this very gradual sort of discovery about learning about myself and also about the world around me, where I'm just captivated by different species of insects and related arthropods.
And you said you're different from before. How are you different?
I'm different from before in terms of the way I view animals. When I was really young, I didn't understand empathy, and I didn't really understand the fact that insects and other animals could feel pain. But as I grew older and I did more research, I realized that they can feel pain, and I guess it kind of switched from being very ignorant to the way they behave and the way that they want to be treated, to sort of learning more about that. So, I wouldn't try to fight insects against each other like how I did when I was, 4 or 5. It's more like they're a protector, and I'm here to take care of them and to educate other people about them. And it's something that I feel it's sort of formed me as an adult and how I view the world.
And how is that?
I feel like the love and the attention I give to insects somehow extends to other people, even though you normally equate humans and insects as being very different, but I feel like that sort of xenophobic aspect that we have towards insects and the I guess the neglect we give towards insects can kind of trickle off into other avenues as well, where we may not really care about other animals or even about people because they're not us and they're different from us. But by sort of familiarizing yourself with insects and with things that are vastly alien to you and very out of this world, you kind of get a closer appreciation for people that are around you and for things that are around you. So I feel like by learning to love things that are very alien, things that are really out of your spectrum, you can sort of envelop anything else that covers that area. So you can learn to love, vastly different animals. You can learn to love people that you don't understand. And it's sort of the idea of conquering this xenophobia, which is, it's pretty much a lifelong journey, but it can really be helped when you make a strong effort to learn and to educate yourself and to educate other people as well. So, yes, insects have different personalities. They're way more intelligent than a lot of people give them credit. For example, they can reason, they can use logic. I've had insects escape because they're smart and they realize, if they open a lock or if they squeeze any which way, they can sort of navigate their way out. And they're amazing because it sort of humanizes them in a way where you learn that there's this thing that is actually intelligent. It's an intelligent life form, and you're way less likely to try to hurt it or to be afraid of it. So it's amazing to learn about different personalities because it sort of tells you a story about insects being like people and how we have our own separate personalities and our traits and what we like and what we don't like. So, for example, Max isn't an insect, but Max does have a personality of his own where he's very shy, but he's also very inquisitive once you sort of get him out of his shell. So I'll hold him in my hand and he'll sort of just stay rolled up in a ball for a while, but then he sort of unravels and he's curious. I've had other millipedes, but he's different because he's really not afraid of heights and not afraid of, trying to climb off my arm. He's a bit more of the adventurous type. But I've had a few in the past who are just a bit more, they're more sheltered, they're more withdrawn. And it's interesting to sort of see how, even though they look the same, a lot of insects look the same, they have vastly different personalities.
And before we get another insect, you said do you live with your girlfriend?
Oh, I don't live with my girlfriend. I still live with my parents in the Bronx. But yeah, my girlfriend shares the same interest as me, where she gears towards plants as well, but she loves animals, and that's sort of what got us connected in the first place. So yeah, it's always fun to show animals with her and see what her reaction would be. So it's been a good adventure so far. All right, so this is Briar Rose, and she is a rose-haired tarantula. Also one of the more scary-looking animals in my collection. She's really just like a big puppy dog. She's just very fuzzy and very sweet and very calm. Never even come close to biting me or doing any damage to me. So she's just been a very pure soul in my life. And what's interesting about her is that those hairs, they're not like dog hairs or cat hairs. They're more of an extension of her exoskeleton. So they're not made of the same chemical structure that you'd find in like a mouse or a cat or something. They're very different. They're very, very alien. And I think she's one of my favorites just because of the way she looks, where she has this beautiful coloration, and she's also very slow, and she's very mild-mannered, and people are normally scared at first, but then they sort of get to know her, and they see the way I interact with her, and they sort of just, they tend towards being afraid and asking a lot of questions, but eventually they just get more and more calm, and eventually if they're gentle enough, I'll let them hold her. So it's really great to bring her because she's one of the biggest stars we have, and definitely a buy that I don't regret at all. She was $40, which is really not that much when you consider how expensive tarantulas can be. They can be well over $100, $200. I felt like this was a really good investment, and hopefully she feels the same way. Don't you?
How old is she?
Briar Rose, I bought her at a expo, at a reptile expo, so I'm not quite sure her age. I would probably estimate her to be a few years old. They take a long time to mature, so it can take years before they really get to a large size. So I would gauge it around a few years old.
And how old do they live?
So rose-haired tarantulas are interesting because the males and the females have a different lifespans. So the males can live to be around 5 years or so. The females can live to be over 20 years. And luckily, Briar Rose is a female, so I can have her for a very long time. Okay, hi. So we're back. So this is Taylor Swift. Taylor Swift is a tailless whip scorpion. You can find them normally in Tanzania, Botswana, different parts of Africa. I like her because she's very scary looking, but also very sweet. So it's really an interesting dichotomy to bring to the table when you're doing live animal shows. And yeah, she's sort of a picky eater. She'll eat crickets and maybe roly-polies, and that's about all she likes. And she's also very finicky, so she may not, have a meal for weeks or so. But I like her because she just looks so exotic, where she has these hinged mouth parts. They look like fangs or jaws, but they're modified, and the mouth parts serve a really cool role in nabbing prey. So they'll see a cricket that they think looks tasty, and they'll sort of reach out and capture it. And it's amazing because like a lot of arachnids, they're very good predators, but they don't have a lot of venom. So almost all of their power relies on how sharp their mouth parts are and how quick they can run to sort of catch their prey. And they're really beautiful because they're so different when it comes to other arachnids, because these are called amblypigids, and they're something that's completely removed from spiders. They look a lot like spiders, but they're actually completely different kind of animal. And what's amazing about them is that even though they're almost blind, they can navigate around their environment because they normally have these very two long antenniform legs. They look like antennae, but they're actually modified legs with small hairs on them. And these are very good at touch. So it's like a blind man having a stick, some kind of stick to sort of feel around his environment. So they'll use that, and not only will they use that to find prey, but they'll also use that to communicate. And in fact, if you were to somehow remove the hairs from these antenniform legs, they'd get into more fights because communication is sort of their way of assessing whether something's a threat or not. So it's funny, when you take away communication, you often get more violence. And even in a creature as alien as this, I feel like that concept applies to other things like people. So Taylor Swift has a very important lesson of, communicate with people you don't understand, and then you will be less likely to fight with them. Okay, hi, this is Jeffrey, and Jeffrey is a Halloween crab. Jeffrey's actually a girl, but I like the name Jeffrey, so it kind of stuck. What's interesting about Jeffrey is that she's from Costa Rica, so she's very tropical exotic crab. And I think people have a very weird misconception about crabs, that they're super aggressive and all they do is pinch. But in reality, they just do that when they're scared. So I think if you stumbled across something that was much bigger than you, you'd want to use any defense you could to get away as well. But yeah, once you make them your pets, and once you sort of feed them and take care of them, they get a little bit mellowed out, and they eventually stop trying to cut your fingers off. She's pinching a little bit, but that's because she's nervous and there's bright light and such. But yeah, she eventually just gets very used to it, and things sort of turn out well. And she's one of my favorites because of her color. She's like a very dark purple, and also more of like an orange yellow. And also, it's interesting because the males of the species have like a very dark blue and bright orange, and the sexual dimorphism between the two, where the male looks one way and the female looks another way, is very, very it's fascinating to see how that evolved in this crab. And she's cool. She's easy to take care of. All I have to do is feed her meat, different meats and fruits and veggies, and a lot of crabs will just eat what humans eat. They'll just eat lots of human food. And yeah, she pretty much just stays in her hiding spot most of the day and then comes out when she gets hungry. And Yeah, I think she's good to bring in the shows because she shatters this misconception of crabs just being used for food and just being very pinchy all the time. In reality, they're more. I feel like they just really benefit the ecosystem because they act as sort of like trash cans where they dispose of dead animals and dead plant material, and they're very intelligent as well. She's escaped multiple times because of how smart she is. She has a knack for like climbing over things and digging under things. And yeah, crabs are a lot more than what's on your dinner plate, and I hope people realize that. Okay, so now we're going twofold. Where I have two lovely insects here. So the one on my middle finger is a Madagascar hissing cockroach, and I have not picked out a name for him yet. But I do know that he's a boy because he has those two very big horns. They're like big lumps near his head, and those are actually used for battle. So the males will charge each other, and they'll knock their horns together like rams when defending their territory or looking for a female or food or something of the sort. And it's really interesting because you don't think of that when you think of insects. You don't think of them competing over territory and females. You sort of just envision them, crawling around mindlessly. But insects are anything but mindless. They have consciousness and they have intelligence, and they're just really exquisite life forms when you really look and you sit down to appreciate them. So I like to bring these two together because they have a few similarities. So one is their spiky legs. So they'll use those to prevent being eaten. Like for example, this guy will sort of kick against predators and will kick predators near their head, and that they're so spiky and painful that they'll pretty much deter anything that will try to eat them, as long as it isn't too big, like a dog or something. And these two have spiky legs, and these prevent them from being eaten. So if a bird were to, pick one up and sort of try to chew on it and force it down the throat, the spines would get in the way, and that would deter the bird from eating it. Another really cool thing about these guys is their antennae, and the antennae are those two little stick things that they're always waving around. If you can look really closely, you can see there's so many tiny hairs on the antennae of this cockroach, and they're really good for picking up pheromones. And a lot of behavior in the insect world is sort of mediated and modified by pheromones. So it's sort of like this invisible net of communication that we can't even in a lot of cases comprehend, just because the dynamic is so complicated. And this one too has antennae. Oops. Oh, she's okay. If you notice, she's not flying or jumping around right now, and that's because leopard grasshoppers they're very big and very heavy, so they tend not to fly around a lot. They don't jump. Their wings are too small and too weak to support them, so they pretty much stick to the ground and to crawling on plants. And another interesting thing about these two is that they're both poisonous when you eat them in large enough amounts. So for example, this one produces a neurotoxin, and this one also has a toxin that can lead to nausea and stomach pains and diarrhea. And yeah, you should pretty much have a good sense of what animals you're dealing with when you encounter them in the wild. So this one, it pretty much advertises how dangerous it is by its bright coloration. So when you see an insect with very bright colors, you know not to mess with it. This one has a different set of warnings, so it actually hisses. That's why it's called a Madagascar hissing cockroach. And these insects will do this by forcing air out of spiracles, so these breathing holes on either side of their body. And when they force air out, it creates this really amazing hiss. And there aren't a lot of insects that can vocalize in that way, so they're very unique animals. And both of these look incredibly alien and scary, but again, they're super harmless. I can carry them around on my hand without any consequence, and they're just another useful tool in educating people about insects. So I like doing live insect shows because they give me an opportunity to educate different people about different animals. I feel like a larger purpose of this is to educate people about the idea of xenophobia and to sort of help them deal with the idea of getting used to things that they don't understand. A lot of fear and a lot of anger towards insects is based off of the fact that we don't understand them and we can't really communicate them. So it's really our job to sort of educate ourselves, whether it be through books or whether it be through going to different educational programs throughout the U.S. There are a lot of animal shows where you can get up and close with an insect and touch it and ask questions. And I think what I do and I think what I sort of express is the idea of communication, where a lot of insects communicate with each other, and a lot of different organisms communicate with each other. And it's when you don't have communication, it's when you have this lack of insight that you lead to conflict. So I feel like, as humans, as creatures on this planet, the best way to sort of get along with other species and with each other is to communicate, and is to learn more about them. And I feel like a lot of reasons why it's so hard for people to get past conflict is because this idea of xenophobia it's instinctual. It's a part of people. It's sort of rooted in our DNA. And as people that care about one another, it's really our goal to overcome that. And while natural reactions to things can be scary, they can also be beautiful. Where I feel like the responses I get towards my insects are genuine, and they're very pure and innocent and childlike because we haven't been taught about these things. And I feel like exploring that avenue of human reactions of instinct and xenophobia, by sort of understanding it, we can better devise ways to deal with each other and to deal with people that are very different from us.